Daisy Reed once believed that her love with Damien Lancaster was unbreakable. They met in their final year of university. She was an ambitious young woman with dreams of becoming a renowned fashion designer, while he was the poised and charismatic heir to the Lancaster financial empire. From late-night study sessions in the library to moonlit walks along the coast, there was always something deeper between them, something unspoken yet undeniable. Damien wasn't just her lover, he was her confidant, the one who believed in her even when she doubted herself. But everything fell apart just before graduation. One May morning, Daisy woke up to find that Damien was gone. Without a goodbye, without a single message. He vanished from her life as if he had never been there, leaving behind an emptiness she could never quite fill. She tried to move on, but nothing could erase the memories of him. There were nights when she wondered if what they had was nothing more than a beautiful illusion, and as time passed, she forced herself to accept that Damien Lancaster was nothing more than a part of her past. But the past has a way of returning, and she was completely unprepared for what was coming next. 5 years later, Daisy Reed had built a name for herself in the fashion world. She wasn't a household name, but she was a rising talent, known for her designs that were both elegant and powerful, a reflection of the woman she had become after years of heartbreak. She was working in her studio when an unexpected offer arrived. Lancaster Corporation wanted to collaborate with her on a high-profile project. Her first instinct was to refuse. She had spent 5 years erasing the name Lancaster from her mind, burying every memory of the man who had once meant everything to her. But this was an opportunity too big to ignore. So with a steady heart and the mindset of a professional, she accepted. On her first day at Lancaster Corporation, Daisy walked into the boardroom with unshakable confidence, but the moment the door opened, she froze. Damien Lancaster was standing there. He was no longer the man she had once known. Once a charming and warm university student, he now carried the aura of a powerful businessman. His tailored dark suit emphasized his broad shoulders, and his sharp gaze suggested he was accustomed to commanding the world. Her heart clenched, but she masked it with a calm, unreadable smile. She had learned never to let him hurt her again. "Daisy." Damien spoke first, his voice deep and controlled. "Mr. Lancaster," she replied coolly, deliberately creating distance. Something flickered in his eyes, but it was gone in an instant. He remained composed, pulling out a chair and gesturing for her to sit. "I didn't think you would accept," he said, his gaze never wavering from hers. "Business is business," Daisy said lightly. "I don't let personal matters interfere with my career." A shadow crossed his eyes, but he simply nodded. "Good, because I want you to lead this project." Daisy hesitated. "Why me?" He leaned forward slightly, his voice smooth yet carrying something deeper. "Because you're the best." It should have been a compliment, but Daisy sensed something more. This wasn't just about business. Damien wanted her back in his life. She met his gaze steadily, refusing to waver. "I'll do the job. But that's it. Don't expect anything more, Damien." He smirked, an enigmatic smile that sent a shiver down her spine. "We'll see." Daisy kept her promise. She focused solely on her work, maintaining a strictly professional relationship with Damien. But Damien did not. He was present at every meeting, scrutinized every detail of her designs, and found excuses to extend their discussions long past working hours. At first, Daisy ignored him, but she couldn't ignore the way his gaze lingered on her, as if searching for something he had lost. Then, everything took a devastating turn. Daisy felt her blood freeze as whispers filled the gala hall. "Damien Lancaster. Engaged." The words echoed in her mind, drowning out the chatter around her. And then, she saw her. Anna Beaumont. Beautiful, graceful, everything society expected as the perfect match for a Lancaster heir. And in front of hundreds of guests, Anna smiled sweetly, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. "I'm looking forward to becoming Damien's wife. We've already discussed having children soon. It will be a wonderful step forward for both our family and the company." The world tilted. The air felt suffocating. For a split second, Daisy was 21 again, waking up to an empty bed, to the realization that the man she loved had disappeared without a trace. But this time he was standing right there. Damien remained silent, his expression unreadable. He didn't deny it. He didn't look for her. The weight in Daisy's chest became unbearable. She refused to let him see her break. Lifting her chin, she turned sharply and walked away, her heels clicking against the marble floor, each step carrying the pieces of her shattered heart. Damien stood beside Anna, his expression unreadable. He neither confirmed nor denied her words. Daisy couldn't take it anymore. She turned and walked out of the gala, her heart racing with emotions she couldn't even name. Anger, disappointment, heartbreak. She wasn't the same girl from 5 years ago, but standing in front of Damien again, she felt like she was being swept into a storm she had no control over. She was about to call for a car when a hand grabbed her arm. "Damien, what's wrong?" His voice was calm, steady, like nothing had happened. Daisy pulled her arm free, her eyes flashing with pain. "Are you really going to marry her?" Damien studied her for a long moment before replying. "That's none of your concern." The words cut deep. Daisy let out a bitter laugh. "You're right," she said. "You don't concern me anymore." She turned away, walking straight out of the event, swearing this would be the last time she ever let Damien hurt her. But she had no idea things were far more complicated than they seemed. Daisy should have forgotten about Damien after that night. She told herself their lives no longer intersected, but things were never that simple. Since the gala, Damien seemed to be everywhere. He involved himself in every stage of the project, giving feedback on things that others could have handled. He personally reviewed every design, even finding ways to prolong meetings just to keep her around. One late night, Daisy stayed behind to finalize the last sketches for the collection. When she finally packed up to leave, the sky opened up, rain pouring down in heavy sheets. She sighed, pulling out her phone to call for a taxi, but before she could press the button, a familiar black car pulled up in front of her. "Damien," he rolled down the window, his voice steady but leaving no room for argument. "Get in." Daisy hesitated. "I can get home on my own." "It's storming, Daisy." His eyes held something unreadable. "Do you want to stand here getting drenched or get in the car?" She hesitated for only a second before pulling the door open and sliding into the passenger seat. The warmth inside was a stark contrast to the cold rain outside, but the tension between them was suffocating. "What are you doing, Damien?" she finally asked. He kept his eyes on the road. "I don't know what you mean." She let out a humorless laugh. "You're at every single one of my meetings. You personally review my designs like you're the creative director instead of the CEO. You're doing everything to keep me close. So I'll ask again, what are you doing?" This time, Damien didn't answer right away. The car moved through the rain-soaked streets, but Daisy could feel the storm raging between them. Finally, he pulled over and turned to face her. "I never forgot you, Daisy." She froze. His voice was rough, as if the words had been difficult to say. I tried to live the life my mother planned for me. I tried to bury the past, but the moment I saw you again, I knew. I never really let you go." Her heart skipped a beat, but she refused to let herself fall. "And yet, you're still engaged to Anna." Damien exhaled, his jaw tightening. "It's not what you think." She let out a bitter laugh. "Then explain it to me." He didn't. And that silence told her everything. Daisy turned away, her hands clenched into fists. "It's too late, Damien. We can't go back." He whispered her name, but she had already opened the door, stepping into the pouring rain as if trying to wash away the past. But deep down, she knew some things could never be erased, no matter how far she ran. Daisy didn't return to Lancaster Corporation for 2 days. She needed time to think, to soothe her heart after her confrontation with Damien. But on the 3rd day, as she stepped into her studio, she was met with an unexpected visitor. Anna Beaumont. She was as flawless as ever, golden hair gleaming under the light, lips curled in a sharp smile, but there was irritation in her eyes. "We need to talk," Anna said, her voice clipped with frustration. Daisy crossed her arms. "I don't think we have anything to discuss." Anna stepped closer, her voice lowering like a warning. I don't care if he loves you. This marriage is still happening. It's not about love. It's about power. Do you really think you can change that? Daisy frowned. What are you talking about? Anna let out a bitter laugh. Has Damien never told you? His mother forced him to leave you 5 years ago. She threatened to destroy your career if he didn't walk away. And now, she's forcing him into this marriage to secure the company. Daisy's breath caught in her throat. Damien hadn't left because he didn't love her. He had left because he was trying to protect her. Before she could respond, Anna's phone buzzed. She frowned at the screen, then scoffed. Well, I guess you're no longer a problem. Damien just called off our engagement, in front of the entire press. Daisy's eyes widened. He did what? Anna stared at her for a moment before smirking. Looks like he doesn't care about the company anymore. He only cares about you. Daisy sat by the window, watching the rain pour down over the city. She should have felt relieved after learning the truth, that Damien never wanted to leave her, that he had been forced to. So why did her heart still ache? She knew the Lancaster family too well. They never let anyone escape the chains they placed. No matter how much Damien loved her, was he ever truly free to choose? The doorbell rang, snapping Daisy out of her thoughts. She opened the door, and Damien stood there. He was completely drenched, his breath ragged as if he had run all the way here. But what stunned Daisy wasn't just the fact that he was here. It was the look in his eyes. There was no controlled calmness, no mask of a powerful CEO. Instead, there stood a man fighting for himself. I gave it all up. Damien's voice was hoarse but resolute. Daisy's breath caught. The man standing before her wasn't just Damien Lancaster, heir to a billion-dollar empire. He was Damien, the man who once whispered dreams into her ear, who once believed in love more than power. I didn't just call off the engagement, he continued, stepping forward. Rain dripped from his hair, but his eyes never wavered. I walked away from Lancaster Corporation. I'm not the CEO anymore. Daisy shook her head in disbelief. No, that's impossible. You spent your whole life spending my life as a puppet, Damien cut in. His voice trembled, but his gaze held steady. My mother said if I didn't marry Anna, I'd lose everything. She was right. I lost my name, my inheritance, my title. He let out a breathless laugh. But for the first time, I am free. Her chest tightened. Are you insane? You spent your whole life preparing for that position. Damien shook his head. No, I spent my whole life doing what my mother wanted, but for the first time, I'm doing what I want. Daisy froze. He swallowed hard, his expression softening. I let you go once because I thought it was the only way to protect you. But the truth is, you never needed protecting. You're the strongest person I know. He exhaled. I don't need a corporation. I don't need power. I just need you. A single tear slipped down Daisy's cheek. He let out a quiet, almost helpless laugh. I spent my whole life trying to be the man my mother wanted, but you're the only one who made me want to be the man I really am. Daisy took a step forward, her heart pounding. She reached up, touching his face. Cold from the rain, but his gaze was impossibly warm. Are you sure? She whispered. No regrets? Damien laced his fingers through hers, his smile gentle. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. A choked breath escaped her lips before she pulled him into her arms. And for the first time in 5 years, there was nothing standing between them. 1 year later, Daisy never imagined she and Damien could have a happy ending, but with each passing day, their love only grew stronger. Damien had given up everything for her, but in the end, it was their love and his unwavering determination that changed everything. His mother, the greatest obstacle between them, slowly began to see what she had refused to acknowledge for years. Daisy wasn't a threat. She was the one who had brought true happiness into Damien's life. Without pressure or expectations, Damien returned to the company as a true leader, not one bound by duty, but by choice. They loved each other in the simplest yet deepest way. There was no more fear of the past separating them, only peaceful days filled with unwavering trust. Then, one magical night in Italy, where Daisy was attending an international fashion event. Damien knelt before her. Under the glow of city lights, with petals drifting through the evening breeze, he gazed at her with pure sincerity. "Daisy, you have changed my life in ways I never imagined. I lost you once, and I won't let that happen again. Will you be my wife?" Tears of joy filled her eyes. She didn't need to think. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I want to." 1 year later, they were married in a sunlit garden, surrounded by everyone who loved them. Damien stood at the altar in a sharp black suit, watching as Daisy walked toward him in the breathtaking wedding dress she had designed herself. But the moment that warmed Daisy's heart the most was seeing his mother standing in the front row. As they exchanged vows, the older woman took Daisy's hands and whispered, "Take care of my son, Daisy, and thank you for loving him." Daisy squeezed her hand gently, smiling brightly. As they kissed, surrounded by cheers and petals floating in the air, Daisy knew one thing for certain. From a love they once thought was lost, from the pain of the past, they had found their way back to each other. And this time, they would never let go again. A year after their wedding, Daisy and Damien's life was filled with love, laughter, and quiet moments of happiness. Their careers flourished. Daisy's fashion brand was gaining international acclaim, and Damien led Lancaster Corporation with a renewed sense of purpose. But nothing compared to the joy of expecting their first child. From late-night nursery preparations to Damien reading parenting books with intense focus, every moment was filled with excitement. He would rest his hand on Daisy's belly, feeling their son's tiny kicks, whispering promises of love and protection. Then, on a warm summer night, their baby boy arrived. Theodore Reed Lancaster. The moment Damien held him, his eyes shone with emotions too deep for words. "You're my greatest gift," he whispered. Daisy, exhausted but overjoyed, watched her husband and son, knowing their love had created something truly beautiful. As they lay together that night, Theo nestled between them. Daisy murmured, "I never imagined life could be this perfect." Damien kissed her forehead and smiled. "It's only the beginning." Their journey had been filled with heartbreak and obstacles, but in the end, love had brought them here, to a future more beautiful than they had ever dreamed.